Welcome to our Devos this week. We are covering week 2 of What's in a Name, the names of God. I said the way God chooses to be known and the way his names are revealed really shows us a lot about his character. So we study these not because it's like something cool to memorize, but because God progressively revealed himself in the Old Testament by the use of these names. And we see these characteristics alive in God even now when we think about God and when we pray to God. And when we think about who Jesus is, all of these names are summed up in Jesus if you think about it. And today, this one is no different, and it is Jehovah Shalom. Jehovah Shalom. And encompassing that name is this unbelievable idea of peace. That's what shalom means, peace. There's one of our greeters. He's more than a greeter. He's one of our leaders, one of our Bible teachers, one of our men in our men's ministry, Paul Davis. He greets everybody by saying shalom. And if you see him and he says that, you're like, wow, that's the first time I met this guy. That almost seems weird. And Paul might be weird for other reasons. That's not the case with this reason. I'm just kidding, Paul, if you're watching. But honestly, this isn't weird at all. This means that God's peace. And it's a specific peace that's reserved for God. And we see that one of the places where Jehovah Shalom is used after one of the Old Testament judges, whose name is Gideon, encounters God. And now, why is it important to understand Gideon encountering God? Well, if you know anything about Gideon, you'll have to understand that Gideon's life is marked with fear, agitation, anxiety. He's worried about the enemies of God, killing him. He's hiding in the cover of night so he doesn't have to interact with them. And then God appears to him, an angel of the Lord appears to him, and tells Gideon essentially that he is going to be the deliverer. He's going to be used by God to lead God's people away from this bondage in which they're under. And Gideon has this moment of back and forth with God, trying to see really like what God's going to do and what God expects of him. And then we find Gideon, after this initial encounter, calling him by name. It says in Judges chapter 6, verse 24, Gideon built an altar of the Lord there and called it, "The Lord is Peace." If anyone needed peace, it was Gideon. So wrapped up in fear and so wrapped up in worry about what was going to happen. And all he had to do was focus on the Lord. You know, all of us, we struggle with fear in one way or another. Now, some of us, when we say, well, I'm not a fearful person, remember, fear doesn't show up in your life necessarily the way it shows up with somebody that like jumps at everything. There's something over there. Okay, like that's not the kind of fear I'm talking about. Some of you, you're afraid of really getting down to what's going on in your life. And when you're afraid of that, you run. Some of the people that are the most active, some of the people that are most confident, some of the people that are the most courageous, they're struggling with a lot of fear. And it's easier for them to control something in one area of their life because things are so out of control in another. That's fear. What do you need? Jehovah Shalom. All of those things, all of the realities of us living on this cursed spinning ball in orbit, we can't change the reality of that. What we need instead is an infusion of God's peace. And the only way to get that infusion is by desiring God himself. Jesus is the Prince of Peace. Jesus is the embodiment of shalom. And when we have a relationship with Jesus, we also have an opportunity to not allow our circumstances to dictate when we find the true peace that God has for those who love him. So, wherever you are today, whatever's going on, Jehovah Shalom, you worship the God who has provided you with peace.